Alright, so some people are asking for updates. This is the game that I've been working on for the last, almost a week. It is a heavily inspired clone of the Konami classic Jackal for the Nintendo Entertainment System. I'm really happy with how well this is progressing and how quickly it's progressing. That's not to say I'm not doing some things wrong. I am definitely doing some things wrong, but I'm still learning the tool. This is Game Maker Studio 2, which I'm not gonna lie, I scoffed at this thing when I first heard of it. I was like, wow, wow, like I really thought it was a garbage program, and it's not. I'm really impressed with the way this works. It looks really confusing, but basically what you have is you have an object that you create, and you can add variables to that object. So in modern programming, this would be a class. This would be the properties of that class. And then you have events, which, again, modern programming, we're familiar with what events are in OO. And then you have the code for each one of those events. So we have the create event. This fires when the object is first created. This is the step event. This fires every frame. So every frame of the game, all of this code is processed for every object currently in the scene, or in the room for this particular engine. But it's pretty well optimized. The code is written very similarly to JavaScript. So if you write JavaScript or if you write a interpreted language like Perl or PHP, Python, Ruby, this should be very easy to pick up and use. But I mean, if you look at this is very similar to JavaScript code. Just looking at it, you can clearly say that it's pretty heavily inspired by JS. There are no types. Everything is typeless. I'm pretty sure the optimizer fixes that, but I'm not 100% sure, so don't quote me. So, all right, let's get to the game. The game is very cool. Let's give it a playtest. We have a vulnerability for frames, so when you take a hit when you first start the level, you cannot be able to actually gonna take some damage on purpose. So there's some respawn. It's jerky, but wow, yeah, after a while. Yeah, we can fix that real quick, actually. That's in the respawn code. In my player object. Oh, this is my player object. Okay. Create, respawn. Alright, we're going to add var water map equals layer tile map. Damn it. Get ID. And that's tiles. Water is the name of that. You can see that right here. Come back to the workspace. Okay. And now in our, this is collision code here, place meeting. We'll just, this takes an array. We can add water map to that there, and that should not ever happen again now. That was amazing. So this is what game design is. This is what all software design is. It's not specific to video games. You're going to iterate through it. You're going to find bugs. You're going to find problems. You're going to find unexpected consequences of your logic, and you work through it. You know, this one was a really easy fix. You know, I just needed to add the tile layer as a collision parameter to the detection medium here, and it will now take that into consideration when it's looking for a place to put you. I still need to fix this so that it's not scanning from left to right. That's this wonderful hunk of code. So I'm gonna have to rework that, but you know, again, iterations. So let's see what else do we have here. All right, let's look at enemies. So here's the Jeep code for the enemy Jeeps. This is their movement code and their pointed player code. All right, and what this does is this is basically finding the player and then kind of directing its position at the player, or its directionality, and then moving toward the player while it's, throwing grenades. And you see I've got timers all over the place here. So I've got a can move boolean and then a timer default. This is just so I can reset the timer back to a value that's configurable quickly here in the editor. There's an activation distance, chase distance, so that when you first load into the game, all of the enemies don't immediately activate and start bum rushing you. So I make it so that you have to get within a certain configurable range of each enemy. This one's 550 pixels. The tank, I think, is 400. We're going to look at that in a second anyway. The destroy event, we just, yeah, that doesn't actually work, I don't think. But this does. We get the explosion. This is the step code, just to, if the HP of the object is less than or equal to 0, we're going to destroy it, which will fire this destroy event. If it's activated, then we start counting frames, because I use frames incessantly to count with, and that's probably the wrong way to do it. I probably should be using alarms, but I haven't learned how to use alarms yet, so I'm counting frames. Because that's how they did it back on the NES days, right? With assembly, everything was frame counters. And it just made sense to me to do it that way, since I'm doing a game that is heavily inspired by an NES classic. Alright, let's look at the tank. The tank is its own wonderful piece of magic. This thing was, it took me about 4 or 5 tries to get this right with the movements. So directionality works a lot differently here, because we get the player's position, and then this is a special function I wrote in our script that just converts the direction to so that it snaps at 45 degrees, because I don't want the objects moving at 37.5 degrees, 45, 90, that way everything's nice and clean and crisp, and it more closely emulates the way things moved in the NES versions of top-down games. My cats are losing their minds. That's amazing. You don't live until you watch a cat run up a flight of stairs and then fall back down them. Alright. Back on topic here. The thing with direction analytics that's different here is I pick a random number with iRandomRange. iRandomRange always returns a whole number, and I only want a 0 or a 1. If it's 0, then I subtract 90 degrees from the direction, and if it is a 1, I add 90 degrees to it. And what that does is it allows the tank to detect the player, right? So here's my tank. If my player is right next to the tank will turn 90 degrees to the player and then pick a direction to move in. So it's always strafing and firing. Which I realize that's not how an actual tank would work because you would be turning your side armor to your opponent, which is thinner than the front armor. But it's an arcade game, guys. Let's not get crazy. So there's that. Right, and then there's the turret. The turret is cool because the turret is completely disconnected from the tank. So here's the turret code, and what this does is um, every frame it updates itself to the tank that it's attached to, so that it stays tracking with it, and it actually tracks and shoots at the player completely separately from the tank. They actually have nothing to do with each other in code, other than the fact that they're linked by a single variable and only for positional updates. There's probably a way better way to do that, but it allows me free motion of the turret so that it can spin 360 degrees around the tank, and the tank can just do what the tank does. I thought it was a really clever way to handle the problem. I was trying to update the turret directly from the tank script, and that was throwing all kinds of errors about objects not being found. Basically, no reference errors. And I don't know why it does that. And I looked it up a little bit, but I can't find any real information on it. I'm sure the problem is mostly my own inexperience, and I'll work through those things in time. As I learn more about the engine. There really isn't much else to show you. Um, just some collidables. Oh, I said I would show you the palm trees. The palm trees are really neat. So we have two events. When the palm tree object collides with either an explosion or an enemy explosion, all we do is change the sprite. That's it. It's just a sprite change. Which trees? So there's the sprite for the palm tree, and the sprite for the stump, and they are identical. Like they are identically sized. I actually just took the palm tree and just cut the top off of it, and then darkened it a little bit so it looked like it was a little bit fire singed. Since a grenade went off next to it, I just thought it would be a funny thing to do. And there's the bullets, projectiles. Bullets handle their own damage. So when a bullet runs into certain types of tile, this is the darker ground. Um, we need to know about that because if they run into it, then it destroys them. It, as well as the tree and the barricades. I don't want the machine gun fire going past those things, but the grenades I absolutely want going past those things. The grenades are thrown and therefore would clear most ground objects. And then we just do this. This is to test whether the projectile has hit object enemy base, which isn't a real thing. It's a parent object. Because we do have inheritance here. This particular thing, which as you see has children, is the Jeep and the small tank. And this lets me do collision detection a lot more easily. So anything that is a subclass of object enemy base now, this will just work with, which is beautiful. And I like not having to write code 7 times. Alright, the last thing I want to show you is the script. This is the 8-weighted movement script. This takes the direction of the player as far as the unit circle goes and will create 45-degree snapped angles. And you see zeros in here twice, and that's because you have from 0 to 22 and a half, and then you have 315 all the way up to 360. And you have to do that detection separately, or it does really weird things. I know, because it's the second time I wrote the script. Alright, that's it. That's what I've got for now. I will definitely be adding more enemies. I want to add little walking men with machine guns, which will be okay for this level. And that will be the end of enemies for the first level here. And this isn't even a real level. This is a test level for me to just play with the mechanics and stuff. The actual levels are going to be probably twice the size of this. And definitely contain more clutter, so to speak. So, more trees, a little more directionality as far as the actual map goes, because right now it's just it's pretty much just a big valley. There will be houses that you shoot open and save little men that are in, and then you have to get them to a helipad so that they can evac out, and that's where most of your score is going to come from. And the only other thing I need to do is power ups. Because in the original Jackal, you would your grenades got an upgrade to like a bazooka or an RPG of some sort, and then there were two upgrade stages on top of that, which made it more powerful. I'm not going to do that directly. I'm not going to take the grenades away from the player because the grenades are useful, right? The NES did that because the NES only had two buttons, so you had one button for your machine gun and one button for everything else. My game here fully supports a gamepad. If I can just get back to my player object here. See, we have crap baskets. It's all the way up here. So we have gamepad support. I do need to fix this up a little bit because it only detects gamepad 0, which is not okay. There are times where a gamepad won't be in slot 0, it'll be actually be in slot 4, depending on the type of gamepad that it is. So like if it's an Xbox 360 controller or compatible controller, then it will be slot 0. But if it's like a PlayStation controller or a direct input controller, then it might be slot 4. And I need to loop over those and just make sure that I know where the gamepad is so that I can pull input from it correctly, because I don't want there to be a limit of some controllers work and some controllers don't. That's fucking annoying. And we've all played a game like that at some point or another. If you game on the PC, where you're like your controller's not supported, or worse yet, it doesn't even tell you. You just plug your controller in and it does nothing, and that's just fucking infuriating. So we're not having any of that. All right, I think that's it for updates. Like I said, I'll be plugging away at this all weekend long. We're supposed to have a snowstorm, so yay! And in between shoveling snow, I will be in here adding more stuff to this so long as I have power. Which I may or may not. It's not supposed to be that bad of a snowstorm, but I've heard everything from 5 to 8 inches to like I don't know 12. Somebody was talking about the other day. Like, I don't know where they're getting their numbers from. I'm seeing 5 to 8 on my weather app, but we'll see. I mean, I've heard them say on the news that we're gonna have a dusting. It's nothing to worry about, and we got 3 feet of snow. So let's hope that isn't the case. All right. They have done enough yammering about this now, and it's 3 o'clock in the morning. I desperately need to go to sleep, and let me know what you guys think. Uh, I'm always open to suggestions. Leave a comment. You know, don't go telling Konami to sue me. It's just a fan game. I'm not charging for this. I'm using this as a project to learn Game Maker. So thanks to everybody for watching.